Hey everybody, we are on page 7 in the packet, and what we're doing here is we're going to practice drawing graphs. There's going to be a lot of times in class where we're collecting data during an experiment or investigation or lab or something like that, and I'm going to ask you to make a graph. So we need to make sure that we know how to make a graph, and we're going to go over some of the basic processes right now, some of the things that we need to do, all the steps. So on your sheet, 1 through 6, that's all blank. We're going to fill those in. Why do we make graphs? One of the reasons we make graphs is so we can visualize the data that we have. A lot of times we'll have a data table like this, and we won't necessarily be able to see any kind of patterns or anything just by looking at the table, but when we put it on a graph and when we plot it, sometimes patterns become more clear, trends become more clear that we wouldn't have normally seen. So that's one of the reasons why we make graphs. So for our data, what we have is how long, I don't know, after Mr. Wiggin turned on the air conditioning, what happened to the temperature of the classroom. Sort of monitoring the temperature of the classroom every minute after I turned on the air conditioner, because I like my classroom cold. So the first thing that we need to do, we want to plot this graph, is we need to draw our axes. So I'm going to write that somewhere. You see that? Draw axes right there. Feel free to pause it anytime you need to. So I want to make nice straight lines. You, in your packet, already have a grid there for you to use, so your work's all done. So here we go. I'm going to draw my axes. This is the y, or the vertical axis, and this is the x, or horizontal axis. Boom, done. I'm going to put some arrows right there, because that's what I like to do. All right, so I did number 1. Number 2, label the axes. So for my graph, I have time here. That's one of my columns, and I have temperature. I'm going to put time here on the bottom. A lot of times, if you're doing something over a period of time, you'll usually put time down here on the bottom. So I'm going to call this time. Do I need to put my units here? I always need to put my units, so I'm going to put in parentheses minutes. And on my vertical axis, I have temperature. And I'm going to put my units, which are degrees Celsius. Okay, number 3 is create a scale. So my data for time only goes to 5 minutes. So I'm not going to put like 100 marks down here, because my graph would only take up this much space. Same thing with temperature. I could start at 0. I could even start a little bit higher up. I'll probably start at 0. But I don't need to go up to 100 degrees Celsius, because my data only goes up to 22. So you should make sure all the marks are even. I'm just going to eyeball it. Don't tell anybody I did that. So I'm going to put 0 right there, and then I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So is it okay that I have 6 there? Yeah, it's fine. Now we need to go over here. So I'm going to go all the way up to 25, from 0 to 25. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Here we go. And I'm going to just write in every 5 degrees, so I have somewhere to go off of. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 22, 23, 24. Good, I counted correctly. Again, your graph already has lines on it, so you don't have to make all those marks. You won't always have that, though. Sometimes you'll just have a blank sheet of paper, and you'll need to draw the axes. You'll need to make all your little marks and everything, all your little divisions. All right, so I created a scale. Number 4 is plot data. What's my data? It's right here. So now I get to put this information onto my graph. So my time, I have 0 minutes, and what is my temperature? 22 degrees. So how do I plot that? I go to 0 minutes on my horizontal axis, and then I find out, okay, where's 22 degrees on my vertical axis? I'm going to put a mark there. Okay. Next, at 1 minute, it was 21 degrees. So I go to 1 minute on my horizontal axis, and I go to 21 degrees on my vertical axis. It's going to be nicer for you guys because you have the actual grid there. I always like to use graph paper when I'm doing a graph, but obviously on the whiteboard it's a little more difficult. So next, 2 and 20. So I go to 2 minutes. I find 20 degrees. Just do my best in this instance to get it right. 3 minutes and 18 degrees. 4 minutes, go to 4 and 15 degrees. 5 minutes and then 12 degrees. Now I'm done. I've plotted all of my data. What is number 5? Draw a line of best fit. I don't know, Mr. Morn wrote that. Or connect the dots, or connect the dots. That's what we're going to do. So we want to connect all these dots now. And there we go. We've connected the dots. Add a title. What should we call this graph? You want a title that's descriptive of what you're actually showing on the graph. So what we could say here is the temperature change of Mr. Wiggins' room over time. That's it. So on your packet, you have something about tacos and how fast people eat tacos. See if you can come up with something similar. Follow the same directions, and we'll see how you do.